studio, about to go live. I just wanted to go and jump on a little bit early. Hope everybody's had a great day. So we're looking forward to a great show tonight, man. I got a great topic. We got a great guest. I'm excited. So it's gonna be really good. So you guys go ahead and log on, like, click, share, do what you're gonna do, and we'll be good to go. So for those of you who might be listening, so again, we're going to be live on Facebook. We're also going to be live on YouTube. And so we will certainly be sharing this back out. If you're following on YouTube, you can follow on Motivation Station and you will be able to catch this episode. So listen, those of you out there in YouTube world, we are live in the studio. Great topic. Got my guest here. And so this link will be available for you a little bit later on, for you to go back and rewatch the episode. So listen, we're going to be starting here in a couple minutes. So I appreciate you guys joining on, and we will get going here shortly. Listen, tonight we're going to be talking about boys in the good. So listen, this show is dedicated to lifting up issues that relates to the trajectory of young boys, particularly in marginalized communities, particularly in communities that are underserved. And so if you know somebody that this topic will resonate with, go ahead and drop their name in the comments box. Go ahead and just tag them in, because we're going in. All right. And it's Voices Unbound. This is a place where every voice finds its freedom. So we're not sugarcoating, and we're not sharing a depleted story or narrative. We're sharing truth that's going to really be helpful in our community and help liberate people to live better lives. So listen, we're about to get started. Appreciate y'all logging on. Those that's already in early, we're going to go in about 1 minute. So what's up, everybody? Listen, we are live in the studio. I hope you guys are well. Those of you that are on Facebook Live, let me know. Make sure you can hear me okay. Those of you that are listening by way of YouTube, please let me know that you can hear me. But listen, we are live in the studio. We are excited about tonight's episode. Again, hope you guys have had a good day. Again, this is another episode of Voices Unbound, where we are addressing topics, we're lifting up issues that are prevalent and relevant to our communities, but we're also sharing research-based information that will equip people to have the tools and to be able to go out and be instruments of their own change. And so again, appreciate you guys popping on for another episode on tonight. So listen, I'm excited about tonight. You guys know how we go kind of operate. We always take the time to spotlight what's happening in the community. We also take the opportunity to spotlight what is happening, to spotlight what's happening amongst our youth. And so, we'll recognize a scholar of the week, male and female, and then we'll get into the topic of our show. And listen, you already know these 60 minutes go by so fast that we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So listen, first of all, I just want to, as far as the community spotlight, I want to take this opportunity to just shout out all the schools and students who are open, who are reopened. We notice there's some schools such as mine, some early colleges who start early, but a lot of our public schools, a lot of our traditional schools have started back this week. And so I just want to shout out all the schools that have successfully opened. I want to shout out all the teachers who have successfully started their classes. And I certainly want to shout out all of the principals and assistant principals who have worked extremely hard over the summer, making sure that school was ready, schedules were ready, all those things are ready. So when kids came back to school, that they were able to come back to what hopefully was a seamless easy process. All right. So community shout out to this week goes to all the schools, all school leaders, all educators, all the students who have returned back to school ready to engage and embark upon another incredible school year. All right. So shout out to the community spotlight. Now, female scholar of the week. I want to take this opportunity to shout out this young lady. She is a sixth grader at Nash Central Middle School. Her name is Samaria Hicks. So shout out to Samaria Hicks. I am super excited to shout her out because I'm gonna be honest, this is the first middle schooler that we have shouted out. And again, you guys need to send me those. Y'all need to send me those nominations of young people. They can be. Listen, I don't care if they're in pre-K. If you feel that they are scholarly in what in their endeavors, please send me their names. But I want to talk a little bit about Samaria. Samaria is a sixth grader at Nash Central Middle School. And of course, she's just transitioned to middle school. So I'm going to talk a little bit about her accomplishments that she is bringing over from fifth grade. And of course, we're hoping that it will continue along in sixth grade. But man, listen, she is a straight A student, straight A's, all fives on her EOGs. She is involved in a lot of activities. And so last year, she stepped with the PUPS organization. And I think that she is actually moving up an age group this year. So she won't be stepping with the PUPS. I think she'll be stepping with SWAT. I think that's the name of the next age group. So she is a competitive stepper. They won a lot of championships last year. I think she actually received an award and a special recognition and a step scholarship at a step show that they participated in last year in Raleigh. This year, as she is transitioning into high school, last year she received every academic award that you could receive at Cooper Elementary as just a high-flying scholar. This year in middle school, she is in the band. She's playing the clarinet. She is planning to run cross-country in the spring. And she is looking to continue her successful ways. And so this week's Female Scholar of the Week goes to Miss Samaria Hicks, student at Nash Central Middle School. Samaria, keep up the great work. You have an army of supporters behind you, encouraging you and hoping that you will continue along your journey. All right. The Male Scholar of the Week. All right. Listen, we're going to have to go to Greenville for this one because the Male Scholar of the Week, he just started his first year of college. And so the Male Scholar of the Week is none other than Mr. Christian Gunter. Chris, commonly known by his friends and family. Chris, recent graduate of Tarver High School, stellar student, stellar athlete, member of the state championship football team, not only getting it done on the field, but also getting it done in the classroom, graduating with over a 4.0 GPA. Chris has been very active in his community. He led some community school supply drives. He's a member of Alpha Academy. He's a former Young Man of the Year. He's in the 4.0 club. He's maintained a 4.0 GPA his entire career. He's participated in track. He's participated in a lot of service programs. He has participated in turkey drives, helping to provide turkeys for families during the holidays. He has participated in Socktober Drive, collecting socks for people who live in homeless shelters, and has also participated in some global service projects where he has helped raise funds for needy kids in schools in desolate communities in Haiti. And so Chris Gunter is an incredible scholar. So Chris, listen, you're at the best university in North Carolina. Listen, let me just say, you're at East Carolina, Chris. You're at the best university that North Carolina has to offer. Okay. So I need you to continue your winning ways academically, socially, continue to do what you've always done, continue to be an individual, and also continue to be a leader. And just know, again, you have an army of supporters who are rooting for you. And you listen, let me just speak on behalf of all the East Carolina alumni. We will pull up to Greenville and support you. You let us know what you need and we're there. All right. So listen, shout out to Samaria Hicks and Nash Central Middle School. Shout out to Christian Gunter, freshman at East Carolina, getting the job done. All right. So listen, congratulations to all the schools that are open this week in our community spotlight. And so we're going to now pivot because, listen, I am super excited about not only the topic tonight, but I'm going to be honest, I am more excited about our special guest. Turn over so people see. I'm excited about our special guest. And so, listen, we have a young man who I've known for a good number of years. And I'm going to it's hard for me to keep track of. I'll let him get the details. But listen, tonight, y'all, we're talking about you guys remember the movie Boys in the Hood, and so we are kind of putting our own spin on that. And this episode is called Boys in the Good because one, I want us to use this dichotomy of a lens to look at some of those lessons that we saw in that show, but I also want to make sure that we realize that even though that show, the movie ended in tragedy, I want you to understand that that's not what we are expecting for our young boys. And so I want us to understand that our boys can be boys in the good. That means they can be in a good place if we take our rightful place. And so in order to do that, I just could not have thought of a better person to bring on the set with me to share this hour than one of my former students who I taught in high school. We'll get into that a little bit. He's a lot of things to me, and so I'm gonna let him talk a little bit about that. But listen, I have Mr. Jacob Hunter on the set with me tonight. Man, listen, you can't have this conversation without having a scholar. He is an absolute scholar in his own right, scholar athlete, I might add. We'll get into some of his background before we get into the topic, but Jacob Hunter's on the set tonight. I'm super excited to have you, Jacob, man. Really excited. I know you have some insightful things. This topic is something that we have talked about for years. We talked about this for years. And so we're talking about boys in the good. And so I want us to just keep this in mind. Tyrone Whitaker said, "Hey, Jacob, love the t-shirt." Hey. Yeah. So, shout out to Taekwon Lewis out there, Ohio State alum. And so, listen, I'm excited about this. So, Jacob, I wanted to kind of give like this. So let me give my introduction, and then you can give your introduction. All right, I'm going to give this off introduction. So I'm always super proud of Jacob. Jacob, I met Jacob at Tarboro High School. He transferred to Tarboro High School his senior year. Most people don't transfer high schools their senior year, but I'll let you kind of unpack how much ever you want to unpack with that. Because we want to talk about your journey as well before we jump into the other things. But Jacob came to Tarboro High School his senior year, and I knew Jacob. Actually, I didn't know Jacob. We kind of were connected through someone that we both knew, one of Jacob's family members. But I really didn't know Jacob, and so the running joke is I didn't even take the opportunity to get to know Jacob. So, but all I know is that when I got to know Jacob, he had. I somehow or another convinced Jacob to retake my class that he had already taken at a private school, because I was like, man, listen, you're going to get the real deal education. Not saying you can't get a private school, but so anyway, Jacob ended up in my class, incredible student, such an incredible experience teaching Jacob. And, we just connected and bonded at that point. And so it's been about, 8-9 years ago? 10 years. Oh, it's coming up on 10? Yeah, the anniversary is next year, 2016. So. Oh, wow. So it was 10. Okay. So 10 years. We've been locked in, man. So I have been able to witness Jacob on his undergraduate college journey. He went to Chowan University, earned a degree in criminal justice in 2020 during COVID. And then he continued straight into grad school, went to earn his master's at one of the elite universities in this country. He went to Georgetown in Washington, D.C. Luckily, it was during COVID, so you were able to kind of do a lot of your learning online, which I don't know if that was good for you or not. And so I don't learn well like online. I need a face to face. But Jacob got his master's degree in cybersecurity from Georgetown University, and of course now is working professionally. So listen, Jacob, I put that out. I'm gonna pull back and let you kind of add anything else to your intro that maybe I left off in terms of your educational pedigree. And let the people know, like those people who may not have seen you in 10 years, let them know what you're doing now, and we'll jump right in.
Sure, man. Thankful to be here. I know, like you said, we had these conversations all the time, but it's always good to talk amongst people that, when I talk about good things that need to be talked about. So just to piggyback off what you said, I was born and raised in Rocky Mount, went to RMA, Rocky Mount Academy for a few years in high school, came to Tarboro High my senior year. And from then, it's just been full speed ahead. I graduated, like you said, went to Chowan, played football there, got my undergraduate degree, and then finished up there and started at Georgetown, finished there in 2 years, got my master's degree, went straight through. And man, since then, just been working in the workforce, getting used to elevating. Currently a continuous improvement specialist right now, but looking to keep going up the ladder, keep growing, keep taking things on, and we'll see where we go. But man, it's been a good journey. I'm still young. Like I feel like I ain't done much, but we just pushing ahead. But yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Great, man. Again, let me restate, Jacob. You have a master's degree from Georgetown. You've done a lot. I mean, that 2 years alone. Yeah. I remember those nights and those assignments that you had to do. But anyway, so Jacob, let me just ask, what was it like being in my class?
It was good. I mean, coming from the academy, you used to a certain type of instruction, but being back in public school, that was a little different. But just talking to the students and stuff, I was trying to figure out what teachers was good, who I should, what classroom should I be in. So your name came up. So the opportunity presented itself. I took advantage of it. But man, I learned a lot. It was real interactive. I think you did a good job of just, keeping everybody engaged, making sure that we learn, being able to take not just the school content, but life lessons that we can move on with. So we still apply those today. But yeah, it was a great time.
And I'm proud to say that you sat in the third seat from the front, and I didn't even put you at the front. Yeah. So that's the sign of a good student. When you all on your own, you just sit in the front of the class. Right. Anyway, so metaphorically, that's interesting because not only did you sit in the front of the class, but you really were like top of the class. So it was great. So Jacob, so tonight we're talking about, Boys in the Good, but we're using this comparative analysis of the movie Boys in the Hood, and I don't want to you share your own story, but neither one of us grew up in a privileged community, for the lack of better terms.
Right. Yeah.
So neither one of us grew up, I guess, what people might consider on the good side of town. And so I want to go ahead and dive into this conversation and just talk about, like, as a young man, particularly a young man of color, particularly a young man growing up in what we would consider a marginalized community, underserved community. Like, when you think back to just your journey, even prior to you transitioning into, private school setting, like, what were some of those early challenges that you just remember, like straight out the gate? Like, what were some of those challenges that were almost daily hurdles for you?
I would just say peer pressure was a big thing. You got friends, family that's from all walks of life in different types of activities and stuff, but just came down to just choices that you would make. I had a lot of friends that I came up with that kind of were on even playing fields. Like you said, we didn't have the best situation, but you made the best of it.
Right.
But as we got older, it just came down to the choices we made, where we decided to put our energy, our time, and that kind of determined a lot moving forward. So it wasn't a silver spoon. I had to work for a lot of stuff I did. And I think a lot of it was, you weren't expected to do certain things, but to me, I use that as fuel to, get out of the situation I was in, and also just make the people that invested in me proud. My family, my mom, brother, dad, all the relatives that used to, support me coming up. So that was my motivation back then. But man, yeah, it was about choices, and we made the best choices. Didn't always make the right choices, but stayed on a straight path enough to be able to get to where we needed to. So.
Right. So speaking of brother, I see your big brother up here, Wendell Hunter Jr. is watching. So what's up, man?
My brother.
So you talked about peer pressure being a big thing, and then you talked about choices. But let's kind of park there for a second, because one, we got to acknowledge the fact that peer pressure is not the easiest thing to withstand or to overcome. And when you don't have strong and consistent supports in your life, that daily battle gets tiring, right? Absolutely. So if you are in a situation where, let's just say, the guys or the girl, whoever, if they're pressuring you to do something, but you don't have any kind of support network to say you're better than that, you can rise above this. Be honest, like, most people just get tired of resisting the peer pressure, right, and just go ahead and give in because they think that that's a temporary fix.
For sure. I mean, you always hear it all the time. Like, people say, it takes a village to raise a kid, but it truly does. Because, I mean, especially as a young man, you got to have outlets. When stuff coming and you face with certain stuff, people that you can talk to give you good advice, right, and just people you can take advantage, of what they're saying. So if you don't have that, the odds are more stacked against you than they already are.
Can you think of a time and I'm just right now just focusing on, like, your K-12 journey from kindergarten to 12th grade. Can you think of a time where you felt like you didn't have enough of that support?
That's a good question. I would say it was times where I wouldn't say I didn't have enough support, but it's just that as a young teenager trying to figure out how to voice that, you might have had people that was there that would be willing to listen, but it's like, you got to have the stigma of being a guy and you growing into a man. So you didn't really open up about certain stuff. But I would say that whole the high school years of 9th through 12th grade, that's when, you're going through the changes as a person, you're trying to grow into your own. So it was little things here and there, decisions. But a lot of it was, man, I looked at what the alternative was and just made choices to try to do better. And if wherever it resulted in, that's where it would have been. But I didn't want to go the other route.
So you looked at the alternatives, right? So what were your alternatives? I mean, we talk about here, like, we talk about like, okay, man, this guy's college educated. He's got a college degree. You were a college athlete. You were a scholar athlete. You were super smart. You went to one of the top schools in the country. So if you hadn't have done that, what would your alternative have been had you not had that intrinsic motivation, or maybe had you not had the supports in place?
I think it could have went for the worst. Like I said earlier, I had friends that were kind of even playing fields with support systems and stuff. And, the streets got a hold of some, drugs got a hold of some. They're not, deaf. They went through a lot of stuff with that. So, it could have been alternatively bad, but thank God that, I had the people in my corner I did. And then also I just had some kind of, self will within that I just wasn't going to be denied trying to, move forward.
So can we use the word discipline? You felt like you had some discipline? That's
definitely the biggest word. Yeah. I turned down a lot of things, like said no to a lot of stuff, a lot of people. But, just thinking of myself and number one, but also like my future, what this decision could make for me. So I think a lot of times at least back then, my age, people would kind of move fast. Don't really think about your decisions and what you make because it's going to affect you later on. But if you can, that kind of can prevent some issues from happening and kind of can help steer you in the right direction. So it was ultimately about the choices and the discipline that I had coming up.
Right. And so one of my favorite quotes, and I don't know who said it because if you Google it, it's unknown, but someone said the alternative to discipline is disaster. Like, so when you don't have discipline, and I tell this to so many people, I tell it to teachers, I tell it to principals, I tell it to coaches, the alternative to discipline is disaster. And discipline, and when I was a middle school principal, discipline, in my mind, when you say discipline, I think about some of the whoopings I got, right? That's the only kind of discipline I knew. But that's not what discipline is. Right. Discipline is, and this is just my definition. Discipline is doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, and how you're supposed to do it. That's it. That's just doing what I'm supposed to do, when I'm supposed to do it, and how I'm supposed to do it. That's how I explain it to middle school kids. So if you come into school, doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, and how you're supposed to do it. Like, so when we talk about like discipline, a lot of boys lack discipline for a lot of different reasons, right? But one reason why a lot of boys lack discipline is because sometimes boys don't have a model of what it looks like. So, we talk about a lot of times we talk about how important it is to have a dad in the house. I'm going to challenge that. It's not just important to have a dad in the house. Right. You need a dad in the house that models good behavior and that models all of those attributes that you're going to need in life. Because I can have my dad in the house, but if my dad is out here in the streets doing who knows what, playing games, running this, running that, that's a learned behavior. So that's social conditioning. So it's like, what good is it if it's like, I grew up with my dad and we both ended up in prison, So we talk about social conditioning and modeling. Talk to me about just some of the people over the course of your journey that provided some level of a model for you. Because I feel like all of us, we take a little bit from this person, a little bit from this person, and then we make it into what we need to be.
Absolutely. A lot of, being an athlete, a lot of the people that you interact with is just coaches, right? So you used to coaches year in, year out.
Right.
I had a lot of coaches that were back then strong Black men that were family, faith rooted. So obviously spending time with them through practices, games, traveling, all that, that's where my time a lot of times went. So, there's a lot of discipline there from just the sport and then also to carry over into my life. So I would say that my dad was in my life. He definitely was instrumental as far as keeping me on a straight, narrow path with sports and all that as well. My mom, she's a school teacher, so she didn't play when it came to the academic side of stuff. So, I didn't really have room to wiggle as much, but ultimately the choices, man. But I have some instrumental people that definitely helped me get to the point I am now. And without them, I mean, like you said earlier, who knows where I would be. So I'm always thankful for them.
So you just named a whole truckload of people, but can we just lift up the fact that there are boys right now who don't have anybody? Like there are boys in our schools, in our churches, in our communities who, when you say make a list, and when I was a coach, I used to ask kids just because I wanted to know if you had a 5-person cheering section and you could invite 5 people, who would they be? Like, so I'm gonna ask you the same question. Okay. But I would ask kids that because that was my way of trying to find out who do you have in your life and who do I need to connect with, like when the kid ain't looking. So, for example, if you say my Aunt Sally Sue, my Uncle Joe, blah, 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 well, when the bottom starts falling out of that kid's life, that's who I need to go to because I know that kid has a respect for that particular people that they mentioned. But a lot of times when the bottom starts falling out of the life of boys and things start to go left, and you might say, well, man, I'm going to call your mom, I'm going to call your dad. Sometimes you might hear, so what? Because there's just certain people who don't carry the weight, unfortunately. So, I mean, you've been living a little bit longer. You're not in high school anymore. But when you think about your K-12 journey, you know, okay, how about this? You got 5 tickets. You got 5 tickets to see you get a special recognition. Who are the people who probably influenced you the most that you would probably give a ticket to?
So off the bat, mom, dad, brother, that's 3 there. My pastor, my lifelong pastor, passed away a few years ago, but he definitely would have got a ticket. And I would say yourself, you know, that 1 year, I mean, even though it's just a year, just for me personally, having a Black man in a teaching space wasn't normal. And I've been to a level where, you know, you get a master's degree and stuff in undergrad and all, and I haven't seen that still. So having that as a teacher, that's a good model as well. So yeah, you definitely would be there. So I would say those 5, but each important people to this day. Yeah, they would definitely be getting that first.
Well, I'm glad you unpacked that because I know for me and my approach to you, like I expected a lot from you. Yeah, absolutely. I expected a lot from you, but because see, it's like once you show me, then that's what I expect. So you already showed me like you got all this potential to be great. So even when you were in my class, now I never, based on my memory, I don't ever remember having to ever be like, Jacob, like, man, yo, what's up? You're like, this quiz, what you got going on? Because you were always such a good student. But I do remember, like, I always applied pressure and challenged you in terms of like your decision making, your choices, who you associated with. So
that was important for sure.
Yeah, so I want you to talk about like why that pressure, it might not feel good in the moment, but talk about why that pressure is necessary.
Honestly, I feel like the number one thing is just getting comfortable, man. Like as a teenager back then, you know, you reach a certain point where you might be doing good. For me, I was an athletic, pretty good athlete, good student. So you get comfortable in knowing that, you know, you're popular, everything's good. But then it's like you said, challenging you, pushing you. Not getting comfortable saying that, hey, I'm doing this or I have done this and I'm good, but keeping it hot pretty much, you know, because there's more to do. So that influence was big. If I didn't have the influence that senior year, I mean, who knows some of the things that could have happened. But, you know, I made great decisions and it was just good having that in my corner. I needed it.
That's good, man. Well, listen, it's always, you know, for me personally, I mean, I feel like my entire adult life, I think, and I'm gonna take it further back. I'm gonna say my entire life, I've always been a pourer. I've always poured it. I mean, I remember being a kid pouring into my friends. You know, that's just who I've always been. That's just that's who I'm just called to be, right? So, but it's always easy to pour into someone that you don't feel like they've got holes in the bottom of the cup. So it's one thing to pour because pouring still costs you something. But when you're pouring into a person that's not receiving what you're pouring, I mean, it can get exhausting. And I think that's why a lot of people kind of burn out and give up hope with young people or give up hope, especially with boys, because they feel like, man, I tell you this, the less you tell you that. And there's some other issues with that. But listen, I want to jump right into so you've seen the movie Boyz in the Hood, right? Classic. Man, classic. Man, shout out to, if I did my math right. Don't check my math, right? So John Singleton produced this movie back in 1990. And I'm going to tell you what, I probably have seen that movie probably 100 times, right? I mean, being honest, I've seen it 100 times because it's a powerful movie. So John Singleton produced Boyz in the Hood in 1990. And so if I did my math right, that was 35 years ago, right? 35, 90. Yeah, 25, 35. Right. That movie's been out for almost 3 decades. And so I want to just lift up a couple of the parts of that movie, and then I want to connect to the research base, the points that we've done. So just so y'all know, you guys already know, we do research. We got some research points. I sent them to Jacob. Jacob's already done his homework. We've done our homework because we want to connect this, because we don't want you just making decisions based on our cognitive decisions. I want you to realize that a lot of these conversations we're having is research based. So one thing I want to lift up is you had 2 brothers who lived in the same house with the same mama, but had 2 different traumas. Right. So you had Ricky, who was an incredible athlete, right? Football was his ticket, his only ticket, right? Because academics really want his thing, because if it wasn't, he wouldn't have stressed out so bad about the SAT, right? So society told him, you're an incredible athlete, and your only ticket out the hood is football. So can we just lift up like the messaging for? So I think one criminal thing we do to boys is we convince boys that your only ticket to being anybody or anything in life is a sport. So sure, I mean, just give me some insight about that. And of course, you obviously being an athlete, but that wasn't just your only ticket. But talk about, like, I call it an injustice. You don't have to call it an injustice, but I call it an injustice is when we only cater to the athlete and the kid, and not the person of the kid.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, that was a big thing, man, because being an athlete, being good at a sport, people expect that, that's the only, like you said, avenue to be able to get out of whatever the situation is.
Right.
But I think it's just important now, and even back then, looking to have other avenues that people can express their talents to the world. And Black boys, I'm saying specifically, because education's there. I'll just use sports, for example. I mean, if you can learn a playbook, if you can learn plays, if you can learn defenses, read coverages, and all that, that's knowledge, right?
That's right.
So just it's about getting that knowledge out to be able to apply it to your life. So that's why I don't feel like it's been enough of, whether it's programs, whether it's attention, whether it's just people being there to be able to pull that out of the boys coming up, because like you said, it seems like they're boxed in. This is the only way you can make it out. So
man, and it's tough. And let me just be upfront and honest, y'all. Like, I don't know how that came out, but I'm certainly not saying that sports can't be a ticket.
Right.
Sports can be a ticket.
Absolutely.
Right. So I mean, if you got what it takes to make it big and to use your talent to benefit you in a way financially that might change the trajectory of your life and your family's life, knock yourself out. Right. But make sure the people who we are stewards of those athletes, make sure you can read the contract. Make sure that you can negotiate. Make sure that you have all the life skills and the academic skills. And you're right, man. Like I used to tell my kids in basketball practice, if you can set that screen and backdoor cut at a 45-degree angle, then you can pass that geometry test. So I don't want to hear nothing about geometry hard. I don't want to hear nothing about geometry hard and I can't get it because it's too hard. Because you just showed me that you understand geometry when we were in that play. That's right. Right? So how about this? You sit out this week and figure your geometry out, and then we're going to come back and just throw more. But, like, we have to make experiences real life applicable. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's real life stuff. Yeah. So sports is, I know we always say sports develops character, but I think sports reveals character. Like, it reveals what I have. It reveals, am I coachable? It reveals my attitude. You play football. So if every time things don't go your way, you throw on your helmet, that don't really say that you're being built. It reveals something about you that needs to be built. But a lot of times when you throw on your helmet, the coaches are looking at the field. Don't nobody see this kid that's crying out saying, I don't have the character to do this, right? Talk to me about your character. I mean, well, not your character, but talk to me about why you made being a student athlete look relatively easy.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it was influence. A lot of it was choices. I also had the understanding that even though I was an athlete, this was something that wasn't going to always be going on forever. Right. I don't think that's preached enough. Like, we tell young boys to get in sports and then they get in it. But then also you don't let them know that it's a life outside of that you got to live. Right?
Correct.
So building you, giving you the tools to be able to use, apply to your life while even in a sport is key. But like I said, the coaches I had, you know, it's a little different now, I think. But coaches back then, it was called tough love, but it was always a message behind what they were doing.
Right.
And these were model guys. Like these were guys in the community. A lot of people knew them. They did a lot of things to look out for people. So these were the guys that were around me daily and helped, you know, groom me in a way. So man, it's just having those people, and then also letting people know that, I mean, it can be an avenue, but it doesn't have to be the only avenue. So
I remember we had a lot of conversations about your academic. I remember you were student of the year in 6th grade, right? So you clearly were seen, right? Your teacher saw you. You received the most prestigious award in 6th grade. But let's flip it a little bit. Do you think that there are boys, particularly boys of color, that go unseen? Do you feel that? I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. Like we need a poster child.
Yeah.
Oh, go get Jacob.
Yeah.
Or we need a kid to do the introduction at the PTA Christmas party or Christmas play. Go get Jacob. Like so I'm just gonna call this injustice out because I think it's an injustice that sometimes instead of us building character and building skills in the kid who doesn't have it, we over perpetuate the kid who does. And so now what that does is, go with me, I'm going somewhere. So now if I'm your classmate, right, and we're friends, but every time something good has to happen, they pick you and not me. You know what that does? It builds a system of animosity, and now we're beefing. So what I'm saying is sometimes we create the beef and we create the division amongst boys based on how we posterize certain kids and how we crucify others.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
I would just say, I mean, opportunities, like you said, as a teacher, as a coach, you know, it's key to understand whoever the youth is that you're leading, right? Like you said, giving those kids opportunities, man. I can just say from experience, everything you said was true. Like, you know, if schools needed certain, you know, reflections, then obviously I was the one to do that, you know, and it was I was qualified, right? But then also, like you said, that's opportunities that somebody else could have easily did, or you know, might have been able to grow into being able to do, and they weren't given the opportunity. So, man, that's a big topic, and I think, you know, just understanding your class, your team, it should be able to lead the adults to be able to figure out, you know, how can we push not just the ones, but the ones that maybe right on the line, the ones that might be falling behind, because we know the ones ahead, they gonna figure it out, right? We can push them a little bit, but let's focus our energy more on the ones that actually need it. So
Jacob, let's subliminally talk about a kid that we both know, right? Through an experience. We're not gonna call his name, but we spent a lot of time, me, you, and this kid. And this kid, as you remember, was not the you.
Okay, yeah.
You know,
I know exactly what you're talking
this
about.
kid had a lot of challenges. He was, for lack of better terms, he was deep in the streets.
Right.
He had every reason for a teacher to justifiably not work with him, right?
Yeah.
And this kid was in another. Was he in your class?
He was in my class.
Yes, he was in your class. He sat, ironically, in the very front row, and you sat in the third seat in the row across, right? And can we both say that this kid had a lot of issues, right?
Yeah.
But can we both say that this kid was brilliant?
He was. I was just about to say the word.
This kid was brilliant. Yeah. Like, this kid was absolutely brilliant. Yeah. So no other teacher probably would have took a chance to reach him.
They didn't.
Right? They didn't. But you know, here I am. You know, I see the greatness in this kid. And so, and I'm gonna just keep it real. This kid told me the first time that I asked him to stay after school because he came late in the year and he needed to kind of get caught up so he could be prepared for the civics exam. Because at that time, civics was a state test exam. The first thing he told me was, Mr. Jenkins, I really appreciate the offer. But he said, it's probably not a good idea that you be seen with me in public. And I was like, what do you mean not seen with you in public? He was like, I got a lot of people who don't really like me like that. And I don't want to, and he basically said, I don't want to put you in harm's way.
Yeah, keep you safe.
And man, this is what I told him. I said, well, I'm going to tell you what, the only thing that I fear is God. And if he led you to my class, then that means that you're in my class for a reason. And so, like I said, stay after school tomorrow and we're good. So I said all that to say that me, you, and him, we shared a lot of outings. Like we went out to eat. We shared a lot of outings. And so and believe it or not, all these years later, and not much has changed in terms of his social dynamics. He always asks about you. He always asks, like, man, how's Jacob doing, man? Because you know what? He saw in you who he could be. Wow. But maybe didn't have the words to actually say, like, I want to be like you. But like he basically through his actions said, like, I want to lay down this gang stuff. I want to lay down this stuff. But my whole point is, how can he ever be a boy in the good if somebody don't step up and say, you know what, man, the life that you're living, first of all, it might not even be your fault. Because how many boys get caught up into they're just walking into family legacy. This is all I know, this environment. In fact, we see it on social media. Like, you can't go against the grain because your own family will question your integrity, your toughness, your manhood, you know. So you saw that happen real time. And so when I say that sometimes we pick the kids that we can posterize, and we never give the kids a chance who are not necessarily the model kids, we do an injustice. So I'm not telling parents if your child is that child, but I am telling parents, listen, tell the teachers, pick somebody else. We know our kid is great, and we know that our kid, you know, does a good job, is probably a model. But you don't want to build that institutionalized division, because kids begin to see the good kid as the good at two shoes, or this kid got something, the teacher's pet, right? Have you ever experienced teacher's pet syndrome? Yeah, that's a real. And I just named it a syndrome. I don't know if it's real, but have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, absolutely. But like you said, it wasn't by choice for me. You know, it's just, you know, being qualified, and they felt like, you know, for representation purposes, that's what it was a better option. But man, yeah, that's a real thing. But just to touch on, you know, that whole situation of the student we were talking about, like that was, I mean, I hadn't thought about that. You know, we've talked about it a little bit, but man, that was a long time ago. But that was key, man. Like you said, it's crazy seeing the brilliance in him, how educated, you know, and smart he was from just a understanding of basic life.
Right.
And you know, I also, you know, the flip side of him saying, you know, you could see him possibly saying he would like to be like I could see, like, if I made certain decisions, like how my life could be different too in a reflection of that. But yeah, man, it's big. I think the kids like that, I mean, it has to be something where the tension is there. You know, he had you to be able to challenge him in that moment, and that could have saved his life. You know, so you know, I'm sure, you know, he was put there for a purpose. And even to see me, we had a relationship then, you know, of some sort. So who knows what it did for his life? But I mean, you know, you can't mess with God's timing.
Right. Correct. Man, listen, one of the research-based things that say the reason why some of our boys struggle, particularly boys in marginalized communities, boys in underserved communities, particularly, you know, even boys of color, is one of the research points is that there's not enough third spaces. And third spaces is like this new language for like safe places. And I'm gonna be honest, if I can just challenge it, I don't even like the word third space, because we used to call poor countries third world countries because we just like, look, this is just unusual. It's not unusual, right? So third spaces is not nothing new. Third spaces is just, we never created these spaces for boys, particularly boys that might have issues. So now it's like we want to name it. But anyway, that's another topic. But what I do want to say is, talk about how important, from your perspective, how important spaces are for like psychological safety. So it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going through something, right? But I'm certainly not going to raise my hand in class and share it with the world. I'm going through something. I'm certainly not going to call my mom or my dad to the kitchen table and talk about it, because I mean, dependent upon, but like, what has to be necessary in order for a boy, a young man, to really put his baggage out and just say, look, I'm going through this, and I just want to put that out.
Yeah, I would say that the space just had to be safe, you know.
Right.
That's not something that's established with a lot of young kids now. They hold a lot of stuff in, and when it ultimately reaches a boil, it's like everybody else reaps the repercussions of what happens after that. So those safe spaces are not there. But I think, you know, coming up as a teenager and just a young man, you got to have that, because, you know, life is hard.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a boy of color, and, you know, you already have a certain target on your back. It's just being real, you know. So if you don't have room to be able to express how you feel when things aren't good, when things are good, and just be able to grow, then that it definitely contributes to your chances of not being able to just move forward a lot of times. So as a child, you don't really understand that. You're just going through life. So it's important to have the adults, the parents, the family, the coaches, the teachers, to be able to, not just for you to always be able to recognize it, but for them to see it too. You pay attention to what's going on in the environment to be able to call stuff out. So it's a big thing, but we don't have it enough.
Yeah. So so according to Third Spaces, it's spaces outside the home. So again, like you said, like maybe the environment in my house is too turbulent. There's nobody I can talk to about how maybe my house environment is really bothering me. And so that's why, having those stakeholders in place are really important. But one thing, and I'm watching the time because, man, time just goes by so fast. Another research-based thing that said the reason why boys, the ones that we've listed, struggle is because of family instability and familial stressors. And so a lot of let me just go ahead and call this out, right? I did a message one time on your son is not your husband. And I did that because a lot of times single moms, they treat their sons like it's their significant other. So all of my relational frustration, I'm gonna take it out on you. I need you to be the man of the household. Kid's 10 years old. I need you to, right? Like, I mean, so it's just like treating a young boy like he is your spouse and not your son. So I say all that to say that a lot of young boys get thrust into these adult roles really, really early because they know that, like, I got to be the one now that let me just call it all out, right? And so probably gonna get some, but when your boyfriend don't treat you right, I got to be the one to fight him off of you, right? That's toxic. That's tough for boys. Or when the bills are due, I got to be the one to not pursue my passions and play sports. I got to go get a job or help. There's nothing wrong with helping the family, but I can't be a normal child now because I got to help pay bills. And God forbid if it's a situation where I'm helping to pay bills because my mom or my dad or whoever is just don't know how to manage money. So I'm still missing out on a normal, stable childhood, or I've got to be the one up at night trying to figure out how to troubleshoot and figure stuff out. And so, but here's the deal. Let's flip it. So when young boys get forced into illegal activity, then it's a whole systemic problem. Now, I'm not justifying illegal activity, but all I am saying is that anybody listening, you don't know what you'll do when your kids are hungry. You don't know what you'll do when your back's against the wall. So you can't ever say, like, I don't know why a person would ever do this. You don't ever know. All right. So those of us that are blessed to be able to swipe our bank cards and we don't miss a meal, this ain't for you. Right. But for those of us who have lived a struggle and we realize that desperate times sometimes call for desperate measures, that's what I'm talking about. And so I want to use this as a segue because systemically, we don't provide supports to prevent the behaviors. But once the behaviors happen, we have a whole system that's ready to bury you in your wrong, right? And so this is probably where I'm gonna just kind of where people are probably gonna log off, but it's okay because what I see is that we have an expectation in place for boys, but we don't have nothing built to sustain it. So yeah.
I mean, I feel like you hit it on the head, but I mean, for me personally, I feel like a lot of times now, man, with adults, there's not that accountability there. If you brought a child into the world, you shouldn't expect your child to be an adult as a child. They have to be groomed, they have to be influenced, they have to be, taught how to survive in the world. And when you put that pressure on them at an early age, it leads them to go down paths that they don't have no idea of what they're doing. So a lot of it is just, man, the parents, family, the village, just taking that understanding of responsibility. You have a child here and it's your job to get him to a certain point or her to a certain point. And then it's, the choices they make after that. But we got, as far as being a child, you have to, you know, be there for them and give them spaces so that they can be a child. So when they don't get that in turn, you know, it can be a negative thing. So it's the ownership, though.
It is. Another thing that I want to lift up in terms of, you know, boys in the good, because we want boys to become good. Yeah. I want to talk about like boys emotionally, you know, like we're told at a very young age, right? It's funny. Like if anybody out there has the master plan of masculinity and boyhood and manhood, send it to me because I hear it all the time. You know, you hear this, oh, boys don't do this and men don't do this and boys don't. So it's like society, I don't know who created it. I really want a copy of it. Society has only created this for one subgroup. There you go. And it's for males. I've never heard anybody say, oh, well, little girls don't this or look. I mean, you know, maybe like, oh, little girls, you when you're wearing a dress, little girl, you don't play on the monkey bars because you're wearing a dress. Okay, I get that, right? But it's like, well, boys, you can't cry, you can't show emotion. If you cry, you're weak. If you don't show no emotion, you're unstable. I mean, it's like males have to navigate through all of these hoops, right? So if I come across too confident, now I'm cocky. If I come across too confident, now I'm a toxic male. And if I don't come across tough enough, then I'm soft. And if I don't, I mean, it's like it's this. And so I see all of our boys having to always navigate these paradigms and always having to shift. And we wonder why by the time they arrive at that level that there's an identity crisis. Because we will say, he wasn't raised this way. I don't know why he's hanging around with that group. Or we took him to church growing up, and now he decided to join the gang. I mean, let me just kind of put this out. In terms of church, the reason why this is not anything, well, maybe it is profound. All right, you know why kids who raised in church still join gangs? Because there's more love in gangs sometimes in the church. Not getting the love they need. It's a love factor. Right. So I tell people all the time, people say, well, you might not want to take a chance on this kid. He in the gang. No, that's the kid I want to take a chance on because that's the kid that needs the love. Right. I've mentored kids that were gang bangers and kids that were, I ain't gonna call out any particular sets and stuff, but I have mentored kids who have been affiliated with some major stuff and some kids who had some rank. Oh, yeah. But guess what? I never mentored a gang member. I didn't see a gang member. I just saw a broken boy who needed that love and needed that prioritization. And so, you know, that's another thing we got to reset our minds around. You know, we have this prototype. Oh, I saw a group of boys. They all were headed, blah, blah, blah. Did you go talk to them? Or did you just create the narrative? And that's the issue. So, you know, when we talk about emotional well-being, I just want to lift up the man, like the research shows that like young boys of color between the ages of 5 and 11 are 3 times more likely to commit suicide. So the suicide rates are increasing amongst minority males. Suicide used to not even be anything that was super prevalent, you know, in communities of color, and now it has increased. And I think the reason for that is because of we feed into this toxic masculinity of telling boys what you can do, what you can't do, what you can say, what you can't say. And I really think all of that toxic pressure really forces kids to really struggle with who they are. But what are your thoughts about that emotional intelligence as it relates?
I've lost some friends and people to that, you know, suicide over the years, like, you know, middle school, high school. So rest in peace to those people. But yeah, like I talked about it earlier, man, it's like you don't have them outlets, or when you talk at a young age that you have to be a certain way, or you're not able to grow, or like you have those people that you can talk to about it. It reaches a point where you think it's not enough, right?
Right.
But the danger in that also is too, man, like just being older now. Just turned 27, so you know I'm getting up there. I would say,
yeah, you get up there.
It's like when you're not used to expressing yourself emotionally, or you know that space hasn't been safe. As you get older, it gets harder, right? But now you're an adult, so you're expected to be able to do that. So it's so key that if you're at a young age, if you don't have that outlet, man, for it to be established somehow, some way, because if not, you only grow to be who you are, and if that's not being fed into, then that's what you'll be as an adult. So That's a big thing, man. But
we used to talk a lot about that.
Yeah.
Communication, man.
Yeah,
Effective communication.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because like you said, you taught at a young age, you got to be a certain way, right?
Correct.
And me personally, being an athlete, being a football player, it's expected for you to be a certain way anyway.
You got to talk. Like,
right. You got to be, so emotions, you can't really show that. But in real life, it's like you still have stuff going on. You lose family members. You go through certain stuff. So it's okay to be emotional, but having the space to be able to express that is not what everybody has.
Correct. And it's really critical, that emotional intelligence piece. I just think about all the things that males that I've seen, even just as an educator.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest, like there's been a lot of things that once that, as a leader, as a school leader, it's amazing once you create a space that's psychologically safe, what comes out.
Stuff you didn't ask for, right?
Stuff you didn't ask for. Once you close that, listen, principal's office is not always a bad place to be. Trust me. But once you close that door and just start peeling back layers, look, man, like what's going on? It's a safe place. It's just me and you. Just talk to me. Like, and then of course it requires you transparency. Like I have to be transparent. I got to make sure that my kids understand, like, look, don't let this suit fool you. Like it might look like I got it together, right, but bro, my life ain't always been pieced together. And truth of the matter is, it still isn't. Yeah. But we have to model that transparency so kids understand, like, wait a minute, you went through that too? Because once kids realize that they're not the only one, because it's something about your brain that makes you feel like you're the only person going through it. You're the only person that's ever been through it. And it makes you feel like you out there by yourself. Right. So, but when people know that whatever they're going through is not a death sentence, they are more likely and more inclined to open up, to share, or either to trust what you're saying, and then in their own timing, that they can kind of come back and share.
I'll just be honest with you. Like as a kid, I don't know how most kids are, but I questioned a lot. Like my family, my friends, like people that were older, like how was this when you were a kid? Or how did you go through this? Like I wanted to know because like you just said earlier, you're not the only one going through it, right?
Right.
I felt like the time I was, so I was trying to figure out, did you ever go through this, or what did you do? So. But the thing is, honestly, I shouldn't have to have did that. That was a personal thing. But having those people that can just tell you transparently, honestly, like I didn't have it all together.
Right,
I did this, I did that, and you still here today. Like, okay, well now I know as a kid, like I can get through this. This is not the end of the world, right? But if you don't have that model, you feel like this is the end. So, I mean, it's just important, man. But
it is. And I, when I started teaching, people had it. A lot of people had a major misconception. It's like, oh, you went to East Carolina. Oh, you did this. They assumed I came from this perfect two-family household with a picket fence and a dog and maybe a spare car in the garage. And that was nowhere close. Right. But a lot of times we don't use our journey as a testament or a testimony. So every time people say, "Well, you wouldn't really understand this because I wouldn't understand." No, you don't understand. Right. So you gotta let people know that like there is a story behind what you see. And I'm gonna just be honest. I'm just gonna call men out because men don't always share with young boys their truth. So you got these young boys dealing with stress and depression and so thinking that they're the only person that's been through something. When everybody in the family been through it. And that's probably why they're going through it. You know what I'm saying? But so we got to be more intentional and we got to be more caring and we got to be more loving when it comes to our young boys. Because if not, our boys will just simply be in the hood. They'll never be boys in the good. They'll always just be in a space. When I say hood, I'm just talking about like a space, an ecosystem where they don't think that anything great can come out of them. But we got to make sure that we are helping kids understand that, like, look, the same greatness that has been promised you. Listen, I can't end the show without some theological reference, right? The same greatness that 1 John 4:4, greater is he that is in you. If it's in me, it's in you. Right. Like, there is no respect of man. So I don't care what your situations are, what you've grown up in, what you've grown up around, what you've been a victim of. That's not a death sentence. And I think W.E.B. Du Bois said that it's easier to fix children than to heal grown men. So it's easier to help children because, like you said, if you don't help them, if they don't heal, they will become grown men with those same issues. And delayed development is real. So it's nothing like seeing a grown man who has not manifested or developed past his teenage mentality or ideology. And that cycle will continue. And so, listen, man, I can't believe, listen, we're down to 4 minutes. Where did time go? Or we could go, listen, I got like a whole nother hour of discussion, but of course, I know time is, so Jacob, I'm going to give you, before I'm going to finish in a way, but I'm going to give you a minute just to wrap up this whole conversation. I know we didn't get to all of the research points, so I'm definitely going to have to bring you back, right? So at some point, we'll have to get back on and run this back part 2. But I'm just going to give you a way to just kind of close this out in your own way for anybody who might be listening or who might be needing that push or that hope to know that they can be a boy in the good.
I would just say, man, just trust in the work, man. Honestly, don't be afraid to run your own race. I know, as a young man, it's a lot of times, temptation of trying to be like others or trying to model behind others' lives and stuff. Just run your own race, because you never know what somebody did to get to where they are. So we all go through our own, challenges, trials, tribulations, but run your own race, man, and keep God first. That's number one.
Yeah.
Stay prayed up in this world now and do your best. Work hard, challenge yourself. Don't get comfortable, and greatness will come. But yeah, man, I feel like this has challenged me too. Just being somebody that's succeeded, came out of certain situations I wasn't supposed to just also be able to, I do it, but then also, do it more of reaching back, having the conversations. I got, younger cousins, siblings, well, not siblings, but cousins and people that I kind of mentor. So just doing that more and getting the message out there more, but giving back to the people that gave to me. So, man, I would just say run your own race, and with God, all things are possible. So
I love it, man. Appreciate you sharing that. That's really good. And so I'm all about life has kind of taught me to be I'm a gratitude guy. I always like to give public gratitude, because one day people in your life will either be a memory or there'll be a picture on your shelf. And so I've had to learn that lesson. Some tough lessons, but you learn them. But I really am super proud of you. You, man, I mean, it's crazy. I can't believe it's been 10 years, but it just seems like yesterday you were in my class. I didn't think that, listen, and this is my implicit bias. Let me own my bias. Don't challenge my bias. But man, I was like, man, you were like the model student. You were the model student, model athlete, model person. We spent a lot of time. And so I know that life won't perfect, but the way you confronted adversity and the way you allow the help to help you was like critical. I mean, I still remember our conversations when you first got to college and you were trying to figure out, how am I going to get through these hard 2-a-day football practices? But just to
that's real.
just to see you grow and develop, and now you're here, college, grad school, you're doing an incredible work. You're just a good person in the world. You're a good human. So keep mentoring. You make me really proud. Absolutely. And I've just been very fortunate, because you wear a lot of hats to me. You're my former student, godson, frat brother, friend. You're my friend. Like, I'm just really proud of you, man. So I really appreciate you being on tonight. Appreciate your insight. You have a lot to offer the world. You have a lot to offer some of these young boys. And I just believe that with people like you, that we can begin to reshape and to transform our kids from being boys in the hood to boys in the good. And so anyway, listen, y'all, it's been good. It's been real. If you're on Facebook Live, if you're on YouTube listening, we're going to stay on just for a couple minutes, just in case. I want to scroll back through and shout some of you guys out to make sure that you are, to make sure that I'm hearing from everybody. But listen, having said that, it's been real. Episode 5. Let us continue to do the work to make sure that we are giving our young boys an opportunity to be successful. All right. So I appreciate you guys. Take care. We will be back on with Voices Unbound, a place where every voice finds its freedom, on next Wednesday at 7 o'clock.
Tune in again next Wednesday for Voices Unbound with LaShawn Jenkins, where every voice finds its freedom.
Man, so listen, Jake.
Appreciate
Excellent,
it,
man.
That
Yes.
was
So listen, y'all. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning on out there. If you're following on YouTube, if you're following on Facebook Live, I really appreciate your comments. Let me just scroll through and shout some people out. Shout out to Pastor Trishonda Robertson, Community Pastor at Word Tabernacle. Let's see who else I see. I'm scrolling. Tyronda Whitaker, thanks for all your support. I knew you were going to be in the building as always. Thank you so much. Again, Tyronda, shout you out for wearing the Ohio State t-shirt. I see Clay Craddock was on. Shout out to Clay Craddock. What's up, man? Listen, Clay, I'm going to be honest now. You know I'm a state guy sometimes. But Thursday night, listen, Pirates coming to town. So I'm gonna have to root for my Pirates. Avea Boyd, I think that's one of my former students from Patillo, I think. Jonathan Bullitt, frat brother. What's up, man? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so listen, y'all. Look, this was incredible, man. I'm excited. I'm so glad I had a chance to just get this out. And so again, super excited about Jacob being able to join me. Just a great model guy. So I'm really fortunate to have had the opportunity to have all this space in his life. And so, Antoinette, so Darius Lewis' mama. So I coached her son at Tarver High School. That was my point guard. And so Nicole Underhill, Miss Underhill, how you doing? Miss Underhill, great mentor, doing a lot of great mentorship at Tarver High School. She's a school nurse, I think, for the county, but doing some great work. Anyway, your brother was up here. And also, I saw somebody last name Moore shouted you out.
Yeah, it's probably my cousin.
Yeah, Wayne Moore. Yeah. So he was up here too. So Philip Gorin, what's up, man? How you doing? So listen, it's been good. I'm gonna end this live stream on YouTube. Your stream looks. I'll be like, even though.